We had a report come out here in 2023 about like why adolescents are depressed. And the main reason was because they felt like their life didn't have purpose and meaning in their family or their community. So children need this.
안녕하세요. 우리아이연구소의 뇌과학자 장동선입니다. 한 아이를 키우려면 온 마을이 필요하다. 이 오래된 격언이 무색하게도 지금 우리가 살아가는 시대에는 아이를 키우는 일이 마치 고립된 섬처럼 되어버렸습니다. 과거에는 공동체가 함께 나누던 일이 이제는 부모 개인의 책임이 되었고 끊임없이 평가받는 성적표처럼 느껴지기도 합니다. 그러다가 문득 이런 생각이 들었습니다. 지금 우리가 아이를 키우는 환경은 과연 우리의 뇌에게 정말 자연스러운 방식일까? 아이를 돌보는 부담을 함께 나누던 시절에는 아이를 키우는 게 덜 외롭고 덜 버거웠던 게 아닐까? 그래서 오늘은 이 질문에 대한 답을 찾기 위해 직접 전 세계의 전통 공동체들을 찾아서 취재하고 그들의 삶에 대해서 책을 쓴 한 엄마의 이야기를 함께 들어보려고 합니다. 과학 전문 기자이자 육아란 원래 이런 거구나 의 저자인 마이클렌 다우클레프 작가님인데요. 오늘은 마이클렌 다우클레프 작가님과의 화상 인터뷰를 통해서 전통 공동체 속에서 인류가 어떻게 부모와 아이가 더 편안하게 함께 살아갈 수 있는 지혜를 찾게 됐는지 이 이야기를 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. Hi, Maiklen. It's a great pleasure meeting you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure too.
Could you please introduce yourself to the viewers of our YouTube channel? It's called Little Heart Insights.
I'm Maiklen and I'm the author of the New York Times bestselling book, Hunt, Gather, Parent. I've also covered parenting and children's health for NPR for the past 14 years.
You traveled around the whole world and you met traditional communities, but all this journey began with your own experience, struggling with education and raising a child. So, what challenges or questions in your daily life actually started?
Yes, so I'm trained as a chemist. I have a PhD in chemistry and I did a postdoc and I thought that like science could teach me to be a good parent. You know, like I would have a baby and then I would read studies and it would tell me what to do. And I was very sorely mistaken. And so when Rosie was a toddler, my husband and I really started to struggle with her. Like she had a lot of tantrums and I describe in my book that my style of parenting is like a white knuckle ride on a Cat 5 Rapids, right? It's like anger and yelling and force and control, right? And Rosie was just, it didn't work at all. It didn't work at all. Like many days she would she'd slap me. I'd kind of given up. There were just constant power struggles. But at the time I was working for NPR and I went down to a little tiny village in the Yucatan in Mexico and I met parents there that just completely changed my view of parenting. The Maya parents are just incredible at raising kids that are generous to each other, generous to their siblings, their parents, respectful, kind, but super, super helpful. And so I started to really wonder, like, what are they doing? I want to learn this method. And so that's kind of what led me to study parenting around the world, but also traveling with Rosie to actually learn it like on the ground firsthand from parents.
What made you really convinced that the traditional communities can really teach us the fundamentals and essentials compared to all the other research papers and theories you must have went through? So what gave you that confidence and belief?
So I think there were two things. First of all, I went back to San Francisco and Rosie was, I think she was 2.5 the first time I went. And I started to apply some of the ideas that the Maya parents taught me about getting her to be more helpful, getting her to be calmer. And I was just blown away at how well they worked. So I took these ideas from this tiny town in Mexico and put them in this urban San Francisco setting, and they were like a knockout. Like just a knockout. And so I started studying more and I started to realize that you can look all around the world, in the Arctic, in South America, and in Southeast Asia, in Africa, and you can find this universal way of interacting with children that's like probably thousands of years, tens of thousands years old. And somehow in modern society, we've strayed from it. And so I think this approach in Hunt, Gather, Parent, I know it works in an urban modern setting. Parents email me every week that it works really well. But also, this is rooted in tradition. This is a way of parenting that's ancient and been passed down from parents to parents. So it's been tested on huge amount of children, all these different settings. And to me, that's way more proof than, a paper.
3살배기 딸 로지를 키우던 다우클레프 작가는 잘 먹지도 않고 자려고도 하지 않는 이 아이와의 일상 속에서 굉장히 큰 어려움을 겪었다고 합니다. 성격이 강한 아이와의 끊임없는 주도권 싸움 속에서 어떻게 하면 이 문제를 해결할 수 있을지를 고민했다고 하는데요. 수많은 육아서를 찾아봐도 만족스러운 답은 얻지 못했고 오히려 우리가 당연하게 받아들여온 현대의 육아 방식들이 비현실적이고 근거가 부족하지 않나라는 고민을 하게 되었다고 합니다. 결국 그 해답을 찾기 위해서 다우클레프 작가님은 마야, 이누이트, 그리고 탄자니아의 하드자베 같은 전통 문화권의 커뮤니티들을 직접 취재했습니다. 그리고 그 과정에서 우리가 익숙하게 받아들이고 있던 방식과는 전혀 다른 공동체 모습을 발견하게 됐습니다. I'm so curious about the traditional communities you met. What felt most different about the traditional communities' parenting styles?
Every kid is welcome into the parents' lives. Every meal, come help me. But it was never forced. That's also very different. So we, in the modern world, parent from a position of control. We tell the child what to do. We expect them to do it. If they don't do it, we get angry, right? But in many cultures around the world, parents teach the child to want to help. They teach the child to cooperate. So things are not forced, but they actually train the child to naturally be motivated to be kind to their siblings. And so it really is a way of interacting with children that reduces conflict and control and maximizes cooperation.
So you had more exact examples of certain communities. What kind of environment actually led the children in the traditional communities to grow more considerate, cooperative, and willing to help others? What are some environmental factors influencing it from the examples you saw?
The first thing is children are always welcome to help, and they're encouraged to help. So the same thing in Tanzania with the Hadzabe, the parents hardly ever told a child what to do. Hardly ever. But they would be like, the baby was crying, go grab the baby, help her, go over there, get some water. They would ask the child to do very little tasks kind of throughout the day. And so this is one way to naturally teach children to cooperate. The other thing is everyone did things together. So it was rarely ever or never go to your room and make your bed or go outside and fold the laundry. It was always, we're going to do this together as a family. So this also is a way of teaching children to work together. That we're in this as a team.
But we live in a more productive, effective society. If I would have so much time like the Inuits or Mayan or Tanzania, but they are not as productive or effective societies as the society we live in. So I know it's ideal, but I have no time and I want things to be effective. How can I let the child do everything? That is not productive and it's not effective. So if some parents believe that and say that, what would you answer?
That's the other thing I will tell you, is that it will come back. The child will reward you in spades, and it actually doesn't take that long. Like a child that's helping when they're 4 or 5, by the time they're 6, 7, 8, they're making big contributions in the home. So for instance, we had guests over this past weekend, and the week before I started cleaning the kitchen, and I was like getting ready for the guests, and she was like, I'll go upstairs, I'll clean the guest room. And she went up and cleaned the whole guest room, spent like 3 days. And so, yes, it did take a little bit of extra time when she was little to include her. But now she's 10 and she bakes, she cooks, she cleans, and she does it joyfully.
It's an investment which pays off with time because the child will do much more as a part of the family, which makes your life easier later. Whereas the leave me alone and do your thing approach feels effective for a while, but the more the child grows up, it will lead you into bigger and bigger troubles. That's what you say, right?
And I also think that including them builds a connection with the child you can't have. You know, it's very good for their mental health. Children need this. I absolutely believe it. We had a report come out here in 2023 about like why adolescents are depressed. And the main reason was because they felt like their life didn't have purpose and meaning in their family or their community. So children need this. And so you're not only investing because they're going to help you later, you're also investing for their mental health. If you want a happy 10-year-old, include the 4-year-old. And you don't need much.
We all know, although we hide it to the outside, that all parents and children have moments when they get very angry, very emotional. You went to many different traditional communities and you write about that in your book, that you noticed there are different ways adults deal with those kind of situations. Was there anything that particularly really surprised you or impressed you in those other communities, how they dealt with that kind of situation?
So the Inuit community up in the Arctic, I probably have stayed there a couple months with families, and I have never seen an adult yell. Not once. They think getting angry and yelling and conflict is a very childlike thing to do, and adults never do it. It means you're immature. And so they never argue with children. Never. And this is one of the things that I really took with me and brought back is like, I don't argue with kids. Never. You learn really quickly to cut it off before things escalate. So if a child has lost control of their emotions, a tantrum, the Inuit families would just stand there and be very calm. They don't say anything. They're not telling the child to stop or be quiet or what are you doing? There's no words. It's just they become calm themselves. Maybe they touch the child on the arm gently. If they say anything, it's like in a whisper. What this does is, children's emotions mimic ours, just like you said, right? If you're upset, the child gets upset, and it's like this escalation. And so you're bringing it down. And so I watched them do this with Rosie, some of the moms, a couple times when she had like a tantrum, and it was unbelievable to me how quickly she calmed down. And so I really taught myself to do that. As kids get older and they can regulate their emotions, you just walk away if they start to argue with you. I just put my hand on their shoulder and I'm not going to argue with you. Walk away.
How should parents start in everyday life? What can they do to start this process?
So one of the things you have to do a little bit is relinquish some of that control. You're arguing because you're trying to get the child to do something that you want. And there's also this feeling of if the child doesn't do what I say, I've lost the power, right? But the opposite is true. When you start to argue with a child, you've lost. I mean, right? Like the power is between both of you. For instance, when it was bath time in the Arctic, the grandma would just go draw the water and the kids would go. It was not, okay, bath time, let's go, time to get in the bath, come on, get your clothes off, all these commands. It was just, she walked in there, she turned on the bath water and the kids would come in there. And with kids, action is so much more powerful than words.
아이가 항상 말을 잘 듣는 게 아니라 정말 들어눕고 땡깡 부리고 막 소리 지르고 아이가 통제가 안 돼서 정말 힘든 순간들이 있죠. 이때 어떻게 해야 될까? 바로 에스키모, 이누이트 부족의 경우에는 절대 아이에게 화내는 일이 없다고 합니다. 화내지 않고도 부모의 비언어적인 신호로, 눈빛으로, 표정으로, 그리고 나는 화내지 않고 너의 감정에 휘둘리지 않아 라는 철저한 이러한 신호를 줄 때 아이들이 오히려 바로 조용해지고 자기가 다시 감정을 제어하고 돌아오는 것이 더 빨라지더라 이러한 얘기를 했고, 우리나라 같이 이제 동아시아권에서 우리의 개념이 강한 문화에서는 뇌 자체가 내 아이를 내 몸의 일부처럼 느껴요. 그래서 우리가 무의식적으로 아이는 내가 원하는 대로 움직여야 된다라고 생각하게 되는데 그게 안 되니까 좌절을 느끼고 그 좌절 때문에 분노를 느끼게 되는 거죠. 다우클레프 작가님이 추천하는 바는 이겁니다. 아이가 내 마음대로 되지 않는다는 건 인정해라. 아이가 내 몸의 일부가 아니라는 건 인정해라. 아이는 아직 성숙하지도 못하고 그리고 아이는 내 마음대로 제어되는 존재도 아니다. 그래서 이것을 인정하면 좌절에 의한 분노가 좀 적게 느껴질 수 있다라는 얘기를 했던 것이 인상 깊었습니다. Many children or even young adults today seem to struggle with a lot of anxiety and have difficulties decision makings or taking initiative on their own, motivating themselves. It seems many children in our modern societies are like that. In contrast, what you described from the traditional communities, many children appear confident, capable, and willing to take initiative. What do you think makes this change, and how do you think can we develop those qualities?
This question is very clear from science. The answer is autonomy. Kids in many traditional societies, or all traditional societies, have enormous amounts of autonomy. So they're allowed throughout the day to make their own decisions, decide what they want to do. They have freedom to move around as long as they're respectful of the people around them, of their families, of their friends, as long as they're helpful and kind. Modern science tells us that autonomy is an antidote for anxiety. We take away autonomy from children. Many kids go to school, come home, go to classes, sports. They have no moment in their day when they're making decisions for themselves. That generates anxiety in people. It generates anxiety in adults because you feel like you're not in control of your life. Also, children don't have opportunities to take risks and show their brains and teach their brains, oh, when I'm a little afraid, I can do it, and I can succeed. In my new book, Dopamine Kids, I call this scary but fun. Kids need to feel a little bit afraid of something, and then they do it, and it's like, oh, that was kind of fun, I want to do it again. And this teaches the brain that, oh, when I'm a little anxious, I can handle the situation. And so we need to give our kids more autonomy, at least an hour a day, a few hours a week, where they're in time and places where they're making their own decisions, they're deciding what to do. When we were with the Hadzabe, those kids in Tanzania, they had autonomy from sunup to sundown. And they would roam around and they would help out with the younger kids, and they would go on adventures, and they'd go collect stuff to eat. And in the modern world, kids rarely get even 10 minutes.
아이가 스스로 해보게 하고 자기가 선택하게 하고 그 어떤 경우에도 부모가 아이 대신 선택하거나 무언가를 강요하지 않는 것이 중요하다, 이 말씀하셨는데요. 흥미로웠던 게 이겁니다. safety와 teaching safety. 그러니까 어떻게 하면 아이가 안전하게 다치지 않을 수 있을까? 계속 안전한 곳에 데리고 있는 것이 아이를 안전하게 만드는 게 아닌 거죠. 왜냐하면 죽을 때까지 부모가 아이를 봐줄 수는 없어요. 아이가 어느 순간은 안전하지 않은 경험들도 하게 될 겁니다. 그렇다면 스스로가 이것저것 물리적으로 내가 어디까지 뛸 수 있거나 뭘 해도 괜찮은가를 아이들이 실험을 해봐야 나중에 이러니까 다치는구나, 이러니까 위험하구나 라는 거 알아서 스스로가 위험하지 않은 행동을 선택하게 되는데, 늘 부모가 보호해준 아이는 그걸 몰라요. 왜냐하면 늘 보호받았기 때문에 내가 어디까지 어떤 행동을 했을 때 안 다치는가 라고 하는 그 선을 스스로 정하지 못하고, 그래서 오히려 나중에 부모의 경계를 이제 벗어나서 스스로 나왔을 때 더 위험 행동을 할 가능성이 높다는 거죠. 그래서 자율성을 아이들에게 주는 것이 중요하다라고 하는 이야기가 기억에 남았습니다. How can parents actually begin to develop a mindset of trusting more and waiting more for their children? Do you have a tip for modern parents?
I love this tip, and it has worked amazingly for a lot of parents. So once a week, let's say, start with once a week. Set your alarm on your phone for like 20 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour, whatever you feel comfortable. And then during that time, you get to say like one thing to the child in every 20 minutes. So if you set for an hour, you get to say 3 things to the child. And otherwise, you have to just watch or physically do something. Like you can give them looks. A lot of parents around the world can give a child a look and the child knows exactly what's being said. And what will happen is, one, you will start to see that the child can handle things and you don't need to be telling them all the time. But 2, so your confidence will grow and your anxiety about them will grow.
In your book, you describe modern parenting as weird and lonely parenting. What do you believe is the biggest problem with modern parenting today?
I think there's 2 big problems. I think that, first of all, we've lost the tools and knowledge about how to parent in a way that doesn't cause conflict and stress. If you look around the world and throughout history, you can find a way of relating to children that's really cooperative and easy and effective and helps kids grow up being kind and generous and helpful, but we've lost those tools. I think the second thing is that we're short-handed. So if you look at evolutionary biology, you can see that really human children are meant to be raised by 3, 4, 5 people. We often try to do it with just 1 or 2. And so we're short-handed. We don't have enough hands to actually raise humans really easily. We are incredibly social creatures, but we are also cooperative breeders. We are meant to raise children in groups. And if we didn't do that, our species probably wouldn't have survived.
And many Korean children actually grow up in big urban apartments, and the opportunities for interactions are very limited. Most parents have no kids or just 1 kid, which means compared to just 2 generations ago, their interaction and the family structures have changed so much that most children interact with their parents or have no siblings. How do you feel about the changed situation of Korean parents and children?
I think it's a very hard way to raise a child, like you said, for both the parents and the children. But there's a lot of things you can do. One of the things that I really want to emphasize is that even very small changes can make a really big difference in a child's life and a parent's life too. So some small changes in the home, but also some small changes with like interacting with a neighbor. You know, you're in an apartment complex, there's people around. And I always tell people that if you're feeling lonely and feeling like you want to connect and have some help and some friends, there's got to be somebody else that's feeling the same way. And you really just need like 1 or 2 what is called allo parents. So other parents, so these are people that aren't related to the child or could be related, but not necessarily, but come and really help support and love the child.
And allo parents, meaning some people could play the role of parents together, right?
That's right. And just a little bit. My daughter Rosie's 10 now, and we have a neighbor who's 12, and she's an amazing allo parent. She'll come over and we'll make dinner together, and I'll tell Rosie to go over there, and it's easy because she lives next door, and it helps her, right? It gives her a responsibility to help take care of Rosie, and it gives Rosie a friend. But, you know, in America, we also have a lot of very lonely, older people. They love to be allo parents. And all around us are older people that want to be Rosie's adopted grandmother and grandpa. And so, you know, once a week she'll go see a neighbor who's Judy, who's 77, and she'll sit with her, play the piano with her. And these types of things fills children up with support and love.
Lastly, if you can recommend a very small but effective practice, like one practice to our parents watching this show to try at home after watching today's conversation, what practice tip could you give?
To me, one of the biggest changes came when I stopped arguing with a child. It really is powerful if you just be quiet and walk away. I mean, I'm not kidding. And if that's too much for you to try, I would say try the errand. Try to get them to help you with something each day, one thing. Even it could just be as simple as opening the door when DoorDash comes. Go grab the door. Carrying something from the grocery store. Just when you're doing something, ask your child very nicely to help you in some simple way that's easy for them. And you do that once a day. In a couple weeks, they will be very helpful children. I promise you.
One last message you might want to give Korean parents watching this show?
I think if a child is misbehaving or you feel like they don't want to be helpful, they're kind of antagonistic, they need more responsibility. The parent is doing too much for the child. Parents need to do less for the child specifically, and the child needs more responsibility in the home.
Okay, that's a very good message. Thank you for all your time, Maiklen. It was a great pleasure having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure too.
오늘 마이클렌 다우클레프 작가님과의 대담을 마치고 나니까 한 가지 생각이 머릿속에 듭니다. 우리 아이가 과연 환영받고 있는가? 라는 이야기죠. 다우클레프 작가님이 만난 전통 공동체의 어른들은 아이를 돌봐야 하는 존재, 보호하고 통제해야 하는 존재로 보는 것이 아니라 서툴지만 공동체 안에서 자신의 역할을 해나가는, 그리고 배우고 성장해가는 새내기 시민으로 바라보고 있었다라는 게 흥미로웠습니다. 이제 우리의 일원이 된 우리의 아이를 환영하는 마음으로 초대해보면 어떨까 생각했습니다. 오늘 준비하는 이야기는 여기까지고요. 오늘 영상 보시면서 느끼셨던 점이나 궁금한 점이 있다면 댓글로 남겨주세요. 다음 시간에도 부모님의 마음을 조금 더 가볍게 그리고 아이와의 관계는 조금 더 따뜻하게 만들어줄 이야기로 찾아뵙겠습니다. 여러분 또 만나요.